Jack the cat settled down in a shadowy corner of the Grabber-Snatch Tavern. He was a monkey, a burglar. He was looking to move some goods. As a natural climber, he liked to come in your second-story window when you weren't around. His friend, the shifty chimp, would be there soon. He was a dwarf, a cut-purse. He liked big crowds, moving around. You'd never see him until your stuff was all gone. They were hoping their friend would come in from out of town. The third man of the trio, childhood friends. Dougie Stoneface, a Tagara, a highwayman, a bandit, a thug, always ready for a free meal. They had been friends since childhood, but looking back, when they ran around the neighborhood talking about the futures, none of them expected that the one thing they'd have in common as adults, they were all thieves. Hello and welcome to Pellicar. This is Nuts and Bolts, episode 8. This is the show where we talk about world building as it pertains to RPGs, fantasy settings, storytelling, and Dresden's Tale in particular. I've been a game master, a dungeon master, an arbiter of decisions for over 35 years now. I've run some very successful campaigns. I've done a little writing, been published here and there. And now I'm working on a video series, Dresden's Tale, based on the life of an adventuring warrior. Feel free to check that out over on the other playlist of Dresden's Tale on this same channel. And all that, I'm just giving a few opinions here. There are lots of experts out there, and well, I don't claim to necessarily be one of them. Today, we are going to talk about thieves and sneaks. So let's start out with an observation. Thieves are hard as a character class. Let's go way back, way back. Let's look at where all this stuff started out. In Lord of the Rings, Bilbo Baggins, the original thief, you might say. Was he really a thief? He didn't steal stuff from anybody, really. I mean, he had his one big scene with the Arkenstone. He messed around trying to outsmart a big dragon and some dwarves. And, other than that, you didn't see him sneaking in anybody's house or, doing any second story work, or you didn't see him picking anybody's pockets. But out of that grew a character class, and it was a character class full of skills. You could pick pockets, you could climb, you could do all sorts of stuff, whether your character actually did them or not. So you had a choice. You could either make your character into the class that was created, or you could just ignore those skills. No matter what, you were basically trying to shove a square peg into a round hole. You had alignment clashes with players. You didn't know what the campaign would necessarily call for as it evolved, so it was hard to figure out how to play that thief. I remember many times in the campaigns I used to run or play in, we had issues with, well, we need a thief, or, well, the thief's not working out. It was a problem. Now, despite those problems, and believe me, I know things have evolved in the major role-playing games over the years, so things are getting better in all the systems, but especially in skill-based systems. That is where a thief can thrive. And it just so happens that Dresden's Tale is based in a system that is skill-based. So what are the rules? Well, we all remember that in the Pellicar system in Dresden's world, that you're getting 8 skill points per level. Most skills that you would call thief sneaky skills are 1 point, so you can load up on them pretty cheap. And you can just do what you want to do to call yourself a thief. If you just want to be sneaky, you can take stealth. If you want to open a few locks here and there, pick up lock picking. If you want to pick somebody's pockets, learn to pickpocket. But they don't come in big group packages that force you to learn things that you will never use. Now, you can go to the extreme. You can pick up all of these things. You can train them to very high levels, and then you can add things like acrobatic skills, tightrope walking, and you can become an extraordinary climber and be able to do all kinds of cool stuff, getting into tight spaces and become nearly indetectable. Now, of course, there are other sneaks. So, overlapping with your traditional thief skills, you can mix and match with things like scouting type skills, signaling and tracking. You can work in with spying type skills, like learning different languages and skills with languages, or disguise and camouflage. There's really no limit. A good GM, a good player with a keen sense of balance, can pretty much come up with anything in the system to develop simple skills to augment a character build. But for a sneak, the key skill is always the same. It's called stealth. Basically, the way that works is for every 2 percentage points of skill, an opponent's awareness check is -1 to detect you. In the awareness system, you've got to roll a 75% or higher to know immediately what's going on. If you roll somewhere in between, say, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, you'll notice, but it takes you a little time to grasp what's happening. So a quick thief is going to have done his thing and be gone by the time that happens. Now, of course, a thief is going to be imposing significant penalties if he's a good one and a smart one. So you could actually end up with a negative roll on your awareness check, and well, that puts you in fumble, and that puts you at the mercy of that thief for a while. You're going to be the guy walking down the street that found out his pants had been pickpocketed. Now, the same thing goes with the other skills, the other related professions of scouting and spying. You can go the other direction as a scout if you want to, and pick up awareness type augmenting skills. You very quickly turn into a cat and mouse game with characters taking skills to augment their awareness versus characters augmenting their stealth. But that's the fun of the game, skill versus skill, building a better mousetrap. Into the mix, you can also add magic, because yes, we are in a fantasy setting. You have illusionary magic, you have psych magic, where you're affecting the mind of your target, and then you have communication skills, going back to the idea of scouting more than stealing. You can mix in the churches as well. You can be a priest and do quite well as a sneak, whether it be the Church of Emerald or Madrilla or Samtha. They all offer spells and skills that augment your stealth, augment your ability to be the best of your chosen profession. Now let's talk about organization. We all know one of the great things about being a thief is you get to belong to the Thieves Guild. Well, what's the point? Why would you want to do that? How does that happen? Well, first of all, you need a place to train. You can't exactly go to the local sheriff's office and say, hey, where can I get some pickpocket training? You have to have like-minded fellows that have that organization, that infrastructure all set up and ready to go. You need a place to sell your stuff. It's hard to walk into the Five and Dime with a load full of stolen merchandise. You might also find some better jobs while you're there. Find out what the hot commodities are in town, where to go, who's the easy marks. They kind of work as employment agencies also. You might have somebody looking for a sneaky person to hire, no questions asked. Might even be for a legitimate job from time to time, if you're the sort of character that's going to take on that kind of thing. You have protection, you have lodging. There's lots and lots of reasons that you have thieves guilds. But it's not just the thieves guilds. You also have bandit groups and rebels and marauders. You have pirates. You have all kinds of groups that operate outside the law. And they all need that infrastructure. They all need a place to sell their stuff, They all need a place to trade for off the books magic. They need a place to move their currency and to launder their wares. All of these add a whole new level to the mosaic of a fantasy world. These groups will be constantly interacting at the fringes, fighting each other for dominance, making deals, betraying each other. They'll fall, they'll rise, and they'll fall again. You'll have various levels of law enforcement trying to tear them apart, and the harder they tear, the more the bandits, the thieves, the rebels will pull together to oppose them. The presence of crime in the clans has been greatly overstated by those people who have had their things taken. Those city dwellers who tell tales of marauding bands of thieves out on the borderlands, they don't know what they're talking about. They just hear what the adventurers say, and, well, you know how adventurers boast. There is no organized crime in the clans. After all, the only ones who would know about those kind of organizations would be criminals. None of you are criminals. Therefore, organized crime does not exist. Now, there are those that say that there is an actual mandate in the churches of Emerald, Madrilla, and Samtha to create crime syndicates. But these are the clans. There is no crime in the clans. Sure, there's some writings that say that the pirates of Orlok are a thing. I mean, there might be a story or two that talks about them, or the bandits that the churches of Abergrayon, they don't fund things like that out in the wilderness where nobody's watching. The Church of Dreams, the Church of Dalius. Who could accuse such a benevolent church of anything so criminal? There is no crime in the clans. Those of you who have lost things, look harder. You left them laying around somewhere. There's no forgery. There's no problem with writs being copied. There's nobody out there stealing from the rich clans and delivering the materials and the things that we have all worked so hard for to the poorer clans. The poorer clans are doing just fine. There is no poverty in the clans. And whatever you've heard about the free cities of Sormeal and Troll City and Patronsburg, just because they're not controlled by the clans doesn't mean that they're thieving from the clans. There are no thieves guilds in any of those cities. I've visited them, every single one of them, and there is no crime there. None whatsoever. And yes, occasionally there's a story that some spy that we've recruited or some hero of the clan is exceptionally stealthy, but that doesn't mean that they started their life as a criminal. It doesn't mean that they've walked the streets of Patronsburg and stolen things from the highfalutin rich people there. And what goes on there isn't our business anyway. This is the clans. Nobody is stealing your things. Just lock them up for your own safety. And there's that pesky passage in the Book of Cities where the goddess Jasmine tells us that the city officials are sometimes best to run their own thieves guild. Well, that's just ridiculous. I am not a criminal, no more than you are a criminal, and we do not do these things. There is no organized crime in the city. Now that we've got that straightened out, we can conclude the episode. I hope you've enjoyed my take on fantasy thieves guilds and a little insight into Dresden's world and the system that supports it. As always, I look forward to discussing the episode with you in the comments. I would love to hear what experiences you've had with thieves and sneaks in your campaigns. Now would be a great time to hit that like button. You can also follow me on Twitter for the occasional station update. But as always, the main thing is that you're here and spend a little time with me. I appreciate that very much. And I hope you all, as usual, Have an absolutely wonderful day.